We're delighted to welcome you to our webinar on the Working Families Benchmark in partnership with our friends at the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. And a bit about Working Families, as I'm sure many of you know, we're the UK's national charity for working parents and carers, and our mission is to remove the barriers that working parents and carers face in the workplace. And we do it in three key ways: by empowering working parents and carers through our free legal advice service, by supporting employers to improve their flexible and family-friendly work practices, and by driving legislative change by influencing policymakers. And I think that's what makes us unique, is that vision of what is possible within the world of work with our brilliant employer members and our wonderful sponsors. And also by understanding from what parents and carers tell us on our advice line and via our email advice of what's not working, so we can really push for that positive, practical policy change. And one of the most important things that we do every year is the Working Families Benchmark. And it's been providing progressive employers with a tool for many years. It's unique in that it enables employers to track their progress, understand where they are and where they could be, and importantly, how they get there so they can be leaders in family-friendly working. It also helps us as an organisation to identify trends and the direction of travel so that we are in a position to help employers better support working parents and carers. I'll be running through the key takeaways shortly from the year's report. And as we look forward to the Flexible Working Act coming into effect in 2024, we'll be focusing our discussion on flex as a day one right, as well as flexible recruitment and career progression opportunities. As I've mentioned, I'm joined by my amazing panelists. And our panelists today, as you would expect, represent three different organisations who've been recognised as top 30 employers for working families in 2023. So big celebration to you and a big thank you as well. I'll now take you through some key insights from this year's benchmark. So the Working Families Benchmark 2023, this is our insights on building flexible and family-friendly workplaces. What is the benchmark? As I mentioned, it's the only tool that's available that measures all aspects of an employer's flexible and family-friendly policies and practice. And flexible working in a post-COVID world, those horrible days that we all remember, moving to flex as a day one right. So while there's been a widespread shift to some forms of flexible working in the post-COVID world, there's still plenty to be done to make workplaces truly family-friendly. 75% of the organisations report that over 3/4 of their staff work flexibly. Just 28% of small organisations and 11% of large organisations said at least 3/4 of their staff worked flexibly in the immediate pre-COVID era. So there's been an absolutely massive shift. But of course, as we always say, it's so important to think about flex in all of its forms. And of course, for employers, flex has three incredibly clear benefits. So reductions in real estate costs, reductions in business travel costs, and what we found absolutely fascinating was increased productivity was mentioned by over half of our benchmark, by the people who filled in the benchmark. So our barriers to flex, and these were the two that were cited most often. And interestingly, this is slightly different to what's come up on the poll. And I wonder whether this has to do with the fact that the benchmark HR directors who are completing them may have slightly different challenges within their organisation. And these are lack of budget and lack of resources. And also, interestingly, an increase in the proportion of organisations talking about hybrid working as a challenge. 14% of organisations mentioned it as a challenge this year compared to less than 10% last year. And of course, supporting line managers. We mentioned it earlier on in the poll. And as I mentioned, I think line managers sometimes have a pretty tough time because they don't always receive the training and the support they need to be able to implement the policies that the organisation has. And only a third of our benchmark participants reported that more than 3/4 of their managers had received training. Flexible recruitment. This is just my favorite thing. We have our wonderful Happy to Talk flexible working logo, which you can see at the bottom. And 92% of this year's benchmark participants said that job analysis is carried out for some or all roles to determine the options for flexible working. And you'll know, of course, that Working Families absolutely believes that without that job analysis, it's really difficult to unlock flexibility within roles. And slightly less than half of our employers use the Happy to Talk flexible working logo and strapline, and a further 22% use it in some, which is great. As you'll know, we have been working with the flexible working task force within the Department of Business and Trade, and they are now going to be using our Happy to Talk flexible working logo and making it available to SMEs sometime in the first quarter of the next financial year. So, as you know, Flex as a day one right, and this, of course, is the right to request, came in and is going to be launched in 2024. And 86% of our benchmark entrants already offer flexibility as a day one right, which is absolutely brilliant. The charity sector is currently the most likely to still apply the statutory 26-week wait for flex. 40% of charity sector organisations said they do so. And the poor charity sector is coming up for a bit of a bashing today because Pro Bono Economics also released a report talking about women in the charity sector and the fact that there's still a gender pay gap in a sector which has 60% of its employees are women is really quite shameful. So then gender equality and progression. And this, of course, for us is a really important thing. Lower income families need access to better paid parental leave. It's absolutely vital. And I've already mentioned the gender pay gap, and it's forecast to remain in place until 2044. So I must say that for somebody like me at my age, that is unbelievably depressing. And I am even more fired up to fight for reducing the gender pay gap as far as possible so that all of the young, amazing women that I know won't have to battle in the same way that my generation has. Women in senior roles, as I mentioned, within charities is looking pretty miserable. Interestingly, what this graph shows is that only in the charity sector are there more women than men in senior roles, but there are still 1 in 3 of the large charities only have women CEOs. Smaller organisations and those with more than 50% women employees tend to have higher proportions of women in senior roles. And then part-time senior roles. And this, of course, is crucial that organisations make senior roles available on a part-time basis. For years, our research has shown that you are only 1/5 as likely to be promoted as your full-time colleague if you're working part-time. This year, 8% of senior managers work part-time compared to 7% last year. So there has been a tiny increase, but it's all going in the right direction. And then beyond flex, other support for parents and carers. And there's increasingly a focus on supporting the journey to parenthood, where employers are recognising the importance of providing support at all stages of the journey to parenthood. And the majority of employers offer support for miscarriage, fertility, and surrogacy. And while larger organisations are less likely than smaller organisations to provide support for fertility treatment, the opposite is true for surrogacy support. All really interesting things coming out of the benchmark this year. And then supporting well-being. As in previous years, nearly all of the organisations report they take measures to support their staff's physical and mental well-being. And you'll remember, of course, that for National Work Life Week, when we ran a poll, the thing that working parents and carers really wanted, apart from flexible working, was actually some mental health and well-being support, which we found, again, really interesting in the post-COVID world. So what are the recommendations? How do you build those family-friendly and flexible workplaces we need? So you can start preparing for the new flexible working legislation. And for SMEs particularly, there is going to be advice on the ACAS website, which government is going to push SMEs to. And they're also going to push to our Happy to Talk Flexible Working logo, which signals, of course, to employees that they can have that conversation and they can work out something that is going to be suitable for the organisation and suitable for themselves. We'd always ask you to do the job analysis and to think about the fact that any role can be done in some flexible way. So, and that doesn't just mean people who can work remotely. And of course, think about the career progression opportunities, because in order to retain your teams, you need to be able to offer them the flexibility that they need to continue with their career ambitions. And then the final 4, provide equal support to new parents, including better paid leave for fathers and partners. If we're going to change the world of work, we also need to change the way in which caring is valued. And the more men that do care, the more it will be valued, and will free up women to progress in their careers. And of course, with the Carers Leave Act coming into force in 2024, employers should ensure that they're ready to offer carers their yearly entitlement of 1 week's leave. And employers could seek feedback from employees at different life stages to ensure they remain fit for purpose. And finally, employers should promote their parental leave and other policies on their website and internally. And there's a wonderful parental fog index that is done by a coaching organisation run by Geraldine Gallagher, and they look at the Times's top 100 for graduates and look to see whether or not their family policies are mentioned on the website. So thank you everybody for listening. That was a real whistle-stop tour. And I know that you will all read the slides in more detail than I've taken you to do, than I've taken you through. And so now we're going to head off to Kathy. So Kathy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jane. Thank you for those insights, really interesting. I know we're very tight on time, so I've been asked to keep this brief. So I just wanted to say a couple of words of why we've partnered with Working Families, why we continue to partner with you, and why we're sponsoring the benchmark this year. For those of you who don't know who we are, the FSCS for short, because the Financial Services Compensation Scheme is a mouthful. We are an organisation that protects customers from financial firms that have failed. So if the company you're dealing with goes bust and complicates claims, we step in to pay compensation. And so at the heart of everything that FSCS does is people. That's our customers and our employees. That's at the centre of everything we do. And we're an organisation that makes a difference and which our people can truly make a difference. And at the heart of that, and the way we achieve that, is through flexibility. So later on, I'll get the opportunity to tell you a bit more about our flexible approach, some of our family-focused policies, which we're super proud of, including our paternity and maternity leave, which we pay 26 weeks full pay to all parents as a day one right. We also have for some time, actually since 2018, it's been a day one right to request a flexible working pattern at FSCS. So we're super proud of all of that, but I'd love to tell you more, but because I'm tight on time, I'll pass back over now. And thank you for having us.
Oh, it's brilliant, Kathy. I'm so sorry that we've had to cut your intro about the wonderful FSCS short. We know you guys do absolutely amazing work and your retention levels are extraordinary within your organisation. So I'm going to take turns in asking questions of our wonderful panel. And the order of the panelists to answer will be Amanda first, then Heather, and then Kathy. So, firstly, now that the Flexible Working Bill has achieved royal assent, millions of British workers will have more flexibility over where and when they work from 2024. This means workers will have the right to request flexible working from day one of the job, and there's an opportunity for employers to start the conversation about flexibility even earlier at recruitment stage. How does your approach to flexible recruitment help you to attract parents and carers to your organisation and start that conversation sooner? And Amanda, over to you.
Thank you, Jane. So over the last few years, our firm has worked really hard to enhance our recruitment practices, to make them more inclusive and to remove the barriers that the working parents may face in the working place. And absolutely central to this is our focus on flexibility. So flexibility is embedded as part of our culture, and we're absolutely committed to offering and actively enabling flexibility for all our people, including our new recruits to the business who are able to work flexibly from day one. We have something at our firm called the How We Work framework, which enables our people to work how, where, and when best suits them and their clients. So ultimately, we trust our people to manage the work, working where and when they need to, whilst balancing this around their personal commitments, such as school drop-offs, school collection, etc. So we share this How We Work framework on our careers website, and we try and bring this to life by showcasing stories and videos of how our people, including our senior leaders, embrace flexibility on a day-to-day basis. Via these stories, we really help to illustrate that the value that we actually place on balancing life, family life, and personal well-being against work. And we encourage, and actually even I'd go as far as say expect, our people to take time off to attend events such as school plays, sports days. But crucially, our flexible ethos is not just aimed at parents. We actively encourage it to be available for everybody, whatever their personal circumstances may be. So, for example, many people choose to work flexibly, to attend a gym or yoga class. And as another example, we actually have a football referee within our firm who flexes his work schedule around travelling to matches to referee. So effectively, he's able to do both of things that he loves. In terms of our recruitment strategy, we work with our hiring managers on job design, making sure that we consider any flexible working options. And we're proud that 100% of all our job adverts are advertised with flexibility. And we include in our adverts that we are happy to consider reduced hours. In our firm, we offer a huge range of flexible working options. For example, we do part-time working, home working, compressed hours, and term time working. And we have a number of people across our firm at all levels working on these kind of flexible arrangements. We also welcome job shares, and in some cases, we actually proactively look to recruit job shares for some specific roles. During the initial conversations with candidates, our recruiters are well trained to discuss flexibility, and we discuss any specific requests that they may have in relation to flexible working, and then we facilitate those conversations with our business. And throughout our recruitment discussions, we discuss our How We Work framework, so that when we bring people into work, even if they're not an official tailored flexible working arrangement, everybody feels comfortable to utilise the day-to-day flexibility that we offer. For us, just to conclude, our flexibility helps us to recruit and retain talent based on skills and expertise, rather than specific hours or locations that people can work from.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Amanda. And Heather, I'm going to move to you now. Again, it's exactly the same question. How does your approach to flexible recruitment help you to attract parents and carers to your organisations and start that conversation sooner?
Absolutely, and thanks so much to yourself and the Work and Families team for setting this up and for the invite today. It's absolutely delighted to be able to share our experience at Independent Living Fund Scotland. We take a holistic approach. We place people at the heart of the organisation. We prioritise collaborative working, and we support that through really robust family-friendly policies that I can't underestimate. The results have just been outstanding because of that. So flexible working is a reflection of the approach taken in terms of what we do at iLife Scotland. And again, that's because we're here primarily to meet the needs of the disabled community that we serve. So integrating that life-friendly culture enables us to allow individuals to co-design their work patterns so that both their personal and their work needs are met. They have complete flexibility. That's absolutely available. Our teams are trusted to adopt what works for them, and those that have caring responsibilities are supported to spend time with those that they care for. The flexibility that we offer and that we have and that we encourage people to speak to us about is modelled by our senior management team, our line managers. We're all leaders, so everybody has the opportunity to model that. And that's to ensure that working flexibly is visible, and it's to signal the normality attached to it, in terms of being adaptable and alleviating any guilt for those that are not familiar with that ways of working, particularly when we're attracting new talent and where they've maybe come from. And choice and control over working, your working life, for us at iLife Scotland, absolutely begins at recruitment. We have our adverts that are emphasising that flexible working offering. We've obviously accredited with yourselves, and we talk about that from the outset. The organisations and the recruiters that we partner with, we emphasise that, and we want those conversations from the very minute somebody sparks an interest in working for iLife Scotland, because we recognise that the talent out there, it isn't about, as Amanda was saying, the working hours and the set time. It's about, actually, we're all adults, and actually we want people to be at their best. And if we can be at our best, then we're going to serve the disabled community in Scotland and Northern Ireland at their best. And their disability isn't 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So it's as simple as that.
That's brilliant, Heather. Thank you. I love that thought, and I'm going to use that as a quote now. Your disability is not linked to Monday 9 to 5. Brilliant. So Heather, thank you very much. And Catherine, Kathy, I'm going to move on to you. How does your approach to flexible recruitment help you to attract and start that conversation earlier?
Thank you. So I'm probably going to repeat a lot of what Heather and Amanda have said, because I guess, like your organisations, we're also very proud of our flexible approach and know that it works for our customers, it works for our people, it gets the best out of our people and attracts the best talent. So we've had, I guess, a focus on flexibility since pre-pandemic days. So in 2018, we introduced the principle that every role at FSCS can be done flexibly. We believe there isn't a job in our organisation that can't accommodate flexibility within it. So that was our starting point, and that was super helpful when actually the lockdown did hit in 2020, because from a practical point of view, we were all ready to go. We could all work from home. So we made that transition pretty easily. So it helps from a business point of view. But in terms of how we actually have that conversation and how we recruit kind of flexibly, that starts at the start of the recruitment process. So our recruiter, Adecco, who we partner with, they make sure they have that conversation with every candidate before they're successful, before interview stage. That conversation already happens, and every job ad, it states that it can be done flexibly, and it states that it can be done part-time, full-time, job share, or that we're open to a conversation around any other flexible approach. So we're having it at the very start. Then we do also have the conversation again at offer stage, because I think we have to be mindful that people might not feel comfortable talking to the recruiter about their flexible requirements. They might have had a bad experience. They might not fully trust the culture within an organisation when they don't know it. So it happens again at offer stage. So our managers have that flexible working conversation, and then it continues throughout. So actually we'll find that most people turn to some kind of flexible, particularly compressed hours once they've been working with us, although some do join the organisation on a flexible, with a flexible working request already agreed. At FSCS, our most popular request is compressed hours. So we have around 20% of our workforce work a specific agreed compressed hour pattern. And one thing we don't do is make a secret of it. So it's interesting. I've spoken to other HR professionals who say either they don't allow it within their business, or they do, but actually they ask people to keep it quiet because, oh, if you tell people, then everyone will want to do it. And actually, we're really proud that people do it. I work a 9-day fortnight. I put it on my out of office message on my non-working day, that's why I won't be working. And actually, my request originally came from a childcare point of view. So when I had my second child, I could not find childcare on a Thursday. And if it wasn't for compressing my hours, I would have had to go part-time and take that pay cut, which obviously is not what I wanted to do. So I was allowed to take every other Thursday off and altered childcare with my partner. And now my son is in school, so I have every Friday off now, and I do that for me, and it makes me happier. I'm more committed to the organisation, and it definitely hasn't, influenced my impact on the organisation or my ability to get my job done.
Brilliant.
Sorry, I'll stop there.
Thanks very much.
Go on forever.
Kathy, I love that you have that Friday just for yourself. It's really lovely. I'm going to ask all of you now, before we come to the Q&A, because we've got some questions coming in, and audience, please do continue to do that. I'm going to ask you, is there a particular family policy initiative that you, family policy or family initiative that you've recently created that you feel passionately about within your organisation? And Amanda, I'm going to come to you first.
Thank you, Jane. So our focus recently has been very much on the parental experience. And we know from research and talking to our people that returning to work following family leave can be, for some people, a particularly challenging, daunting and vulnerable time. And just to clarify, when we at Grant Thornton talk about family leave, we mean maternity leave, paternity leave, adoption surrogacy leave, and shared parental leave. So based on the research we've done, we've placed significant focus on trying to enhance the experience of people that returning from this period, so providing tailored support to help their return to work. So we offer anyone returning to work after family leave, return to work coaching with one of our professionally trained coaches. Additionally, we've done a lot of work with our people managers so they can better support the individuals returning to work and provide the guidance and support they need at this time. More recently, we've also launched a new initiative, which is our new parent mentoring programme. So within our business, we've established a volunteer pool of mentors. These are all working parents within our firm who have previously been on family leave, and they've previously navigated that transition back to work. So anyone returning from family leave now is offered the opportunity to be paired with one of our mentors to support their transition back to work. So the mentor role is really there to act as as a trustworthy supporter for someone returning back to work. They're there to act as a sounding board for any issues and to instill confidence, and also to just enable that returner to feel connected to somebody else that's had a similar life experience to them, because we are conscious that if people work in teams, sometimes it may not be anyone in your immediate team that's a working parent or has had a similar experience to you. So it's so beneficial to be able to connect those individuals together. We have found that during the mentoring relationship, mentees are able to discuss with their mentor any specific challenges that they are facing, which sometimes they're not confident in talking to their line manager about. So this could be issues such as work-life balance, how to regain confidence, parental challenges, or career mapping. And we've had really valuable feedback from the scheme. Returners have told us that it really supports their well-being, but also it allows them to receive some informal advice, which is so useful based on people that have lived through that experience previously, but perhaps they're just, a few months or a few years down that line of navigating that path. So we organise pairings based on department, not at team level, but we ensure there's some relatability there. And what we also do is we include an element of role modelling as well. So we ensure that all mentors are 1 or 2 grades higher than mentees. Because what we really want to actively demonstrate is that career progression and promotion opportunities are available and very much encouraged, even as working parents at our firm.
That's great. I love that idea of peer mentors, and particularly, as you say, a couple of grades higher. That's just brilliant. I'm sure many people are going to be stealing that idea. So thanks very much, Amanda. And Heather, if I can come to you next. Again, is there a particular policy or initiative that you've recently created that you feel passionately about within your organisation?
So it's really unfair that you're only asking me to talk about one, but I will because I'm conscious of time. But I'm absolutely loving the peer mentorship in terms of that shared lived experience that Amanda's talked about. And I'm one of those people that will absolutely look into that further. I think it's fantastic. For us, I think it's the time off for dependents and how we've worked with line managers. And this isn't recent. We have had flexible working available since we started in 2015 because it's part of our culture, it's part of how we operate, it's part of what we want people to have in terms of that work experience, given how passionate and committed all our workforce are in terms of supporting disabled people across Scotland and Northern Ireland. So our time off for dependents again offers additional paid time to individuals, upwards of 15 days plus additional time if they're looking to sort of combine that with some annual leave as well. And really that's that opportunity to recognise as a carer accredited organisation, given where we work and what we do, is we want to be able to support those that are caring for others. Why wouldn't we? It fits so well with our culture, but also I think carers and they don't tend to put themselves first. So it gives us as an organisation that opportunity to offer some really practical support in order that we can care for them as they care for others. So that in itself fits in with our culture. And again, we've reaped the benefits of that in terms of retaining that expertise, that talent, that opportunity to support individuals whilst they go through particularly difficult life circumstances, regardless of what they may be. And it just makes perfect sense. And I've had real opportunity in the past couple of years we're working at ILF to really understand with individuals and work with line managers in terms of saying, actually, there is opportunity. We could do it this way. How would that work? How does that sit? So not forgetting operationally, we need to still, we still need to function, but actually working with line managers and individuals and encouraging that whole no conversations off the table. Because even for our colleagues that have worked with us for a number of years, there's still a little bit of nervousness around that. What is this going to mean? Am I less committed? Am I less engaged? Absolutely not. We want to be able to support individuals. So I feel really proud of our time off for dependents policy. And again, it's open to everybody, regardless of what their care and responsibilities are. Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Heather. And finally, Kathy, over to you.
Thank you. And really interesting to hear from Amanda and Heather, because actually this year we introduced a parent mentoring scheme. We partnered with the organisation Daddy Life, if anyone's interested. That's been fantastic for us. And also, like Heather's organisation, we're really proud of our enhanced dependence leave. So we actually introduced, as a direct result of the pandemic, so in 2020, we enhanced our dependence leave, to 20 days paid. And that was done as, I guess, in a reactive way to support particularly parents through school closures and nursery closures and kind of the lack of maybe other family support through the pandemic. But actually, we decided to keep that leave, and that dependence leave is open to all employees, including anyone with caring responsibilities. So we're not talking just about parents. And actually, where we've seen it really helpful is for those caring for elderly parents, and we've seen a much larger take up in that area. But one of the things we're especially proud of at FSCS, I mentioned right at the start, I think, is our enhanced maternity and paternity. So we pay all employees who have a child, whether that be through surrogacy, adoption, however that child comes into their lives, 26 weeks full pay, and that's a day one right at FSCS. So you could start working for us next week if your partner is pregnant, or you are pregnant, you are entitled to 26 weeks full pay. What we're especially proud of is that all new fathers take it. So we have 100% take up of that 26 weeks. We don't it's not something that's hidden in a policy that we say, but actually people are too scared to take it because culturally it's not acceptable. People take it. And so we're especially proud of that. We've had 9 dads in the last 12 months go and spend the first 6 months of their baby's lives with their newborn baby. As someone who's had 2 children at FSCS, I wish my partner had worked for our organisation, because quite frankly, 2 weeks isn't enough. Spend the first week in hospital, it's pretty brutal, especially when you've had a C-section. But that's another story. But yeah, we're so proud of that. And it has made such a difference to our fathers. And I know that in turn makes a difference to their families, and to the women or the partners in their lives. And I will just I know we're tight on time, so I just will say that our enhanced paternity is part of kind of our enhanced family leave package. And in turn, part of our wider approach to being a flexible employer. And so that works, so the policies, the offerings, but alongside our development programmes, have made some fantastic results for our organisation. So just to end on another thing that we're super proud of is the fact that we have closed, and in fact reversed, our gender pay gap. So in 2019, which is when we introduced the enhanced paternity, our pay gap was 18% in favour of men. We're now 1.3% in favour of women. So we're super proud of that.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Kathy. So thanks, panel. Those were just brilliant ideas, and I'm sure people will be stealing them. We've got questions coming in thick and fast, and the team has put together the questions that are coming in for individuals. So Amanda, I'm going to start with a question for you. So one of our listeners is wondering what impact the work that you're doing with the peer mentoring has had on your overall culture, and what have you noticed about how parents perform when they return to work?
Thank you, Jane. So I would say it's had a really positive impact on our culture. We've had so many people that have come to me from all areas of the business being so supportive of this new initiative. And a number of people have come to me and said, oh, I wish this had existed a few years ago when I came back to work. It would have so helped me manage that transition back to work. So for that reason, we've had so many people volunteer to be mentors, because they can really see the value in having this kind of supportive, trustworthy, guide to help somebody on that journey back to work. In terms of parents themselves that have taken up the mentoring scheme, so our mentees, it is still a relatively new initiative. So it was launched this year. So we're going to be monitoring data and feedback as we go. But the feedback we have had so far is that it's been amazing for people's well-being. It's really helped smooth that transition. It's made it an easier thing for people to do. Understanding how to be a new parent and also to work at the same time and managing that work-life balance. People found so beneficial because they've had so many tips and great ideas from people that are just a couple of years ahead in that game.
Brilliant. Super. It'll be fascinating if you're able to share your data to understand the benefits of this new peer mentoring. Thank you. And Heather, a question for you. What key benefits can you share with the audience from your experience of taking part in the benchmark process that made it worthwhile for those who might be unfamiliar with the process?
Yeah, I think the benchmarking process through Working Families for us at ILF Scotland has been hugely valuable. Really from the point of view that we want to always aspire to be better. So it allows us to really understand where we're at and how we're doing as an organisation, but also in line with our sort of staff surveying and having that benchmark, we can share those experiences and we can share that information with our colleagues, and it's a useful reminder to them in terms of what our offering looks and feels like. And we can share that. We can also talk about where we want to do better, and is that something that our colleagues would be interested in? Is that an area specifically from staff survey feedback that we can address? I think the other thing as well is it helps us understand what else is going on elsewhere. We're a relatively small organisation. We know how agile we are, but also we recognise that gap in terms of being able to attract talent, not necessarily retain it. I think our retention is superb. But our ability to attract talent and really make us stand out in terms of our USP, it allows us to make sure that we're absolutely ahead of the game on that, and to be able to promote and sell what we do and why we do and how we work and why we do what we do, So it's hugely valuable from that point of view. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Heather. Really interesting that you also don't just give options to your employees, you ask them what they're interested in. Love that. And a question now for you, Kathy. How challenging have you found it to secure buy-in from across the organisation for your brand new provisions and policies that you launch? What tips can you share with the audience around engaging senior staff who are perhaps not as invested in family-friendly working and creating a family-friendly culture across the whole organisation?
Great question. And I guess there's two parts to that question. So in terms of the wider organisation, our policies have landed really well. I think it helps that we have done a lot of work on building a culture of trust, of flexibility, a supportive culture for everybody. So it isn't just about our parents. So we, I guess there's a risk of resentment, or why do they get that? But actually, if you kind of take everyone on the journey and ensure that there is something for everybody, so we have a really generous, flexible benefits package. So that includes private healthcare, etc., enhanced benefits that people can choose to suit their lives. So if you've got children, you can choose a certain benefit. If you don't, you can choose a different benefit. And like I say, our dependence leave isn't just open to parents, it's open to anyone who might have caring responsibilities. And that really could be anybody at any point of their career, their life. And I think it helps to share stories. So we're huge on storytelling within our organisation as a means to kind of take people with you on that journey and understand how each of us benefits. And in terms of senior buy-in, we've each area actually of ED&I has a senior sponsor within our organisation, so a member of the executive team. And our enhanced maternity and paternity was introduced by our previous chief people officer, who didn't have children. And so I think his ability to communicate why that was important to the rest of the organisation was actually really powerful. So introducing voices, I think at all levels of your organisation that can say, can talk about the benefits both from a personal point of view, like I can, but also actually what that means for an organisation. And it's been very interesting since we introduced the enhanced paternity leave, is how many new dads go, oh, but if I take this, what does this mean for our career? What does this mean for my career aspirations? I'm a bit worried. Well, yes, and that's something our women, our female colleagues, have been having to think about. And so actually you make other people, I guess, more appreciative of each other. I hope that answers the question.
That's fantastic, Kathy. Thank you so much. Just some amazing things that are happening across our top 30 employers. I've got a final quick question for Amanda. It sounds like you're doing some incredible work. Do you still face challenges in implementing these initiatives?
So providing an inclusive culture is at the heart of what we're trying to do in our firm. So whenever we try and introduce a new initiative, we do it based on research and what people have told us. So, for example, in terms of the new parent mentoring, we know that people were struggling on their return to work. We know that was presenting a barrier for some people in terms of how they felt about their career and the career progression. So we gather that data, and then once we know where perhaps the gaps or challenges are, we're able to put measures in place. So we find that senior management are very supportive of everything we do in this respect, because we have the data and feedback to show that it's something we need to do to be able to enhance the experience of our people in our firm.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I've just loved this today. I'm so glad that my IT didn't fail completely so that I actually was able to join you all. It's so inspiring to see what positive, progressive employers you are and how you listen to your people. And I love the mix of data and stories. They're such an important, integral part of how we tell stories. And for those of us like me who like data, it's always good to have that ability to have a look at it. We'll be sending the webinar recording to everybody, and we encourage you to share it with your colleagues. We're also launching our 2023 benchmark report today, which will give all of you a unique opportunity to find out what other organizations are doing and to embed family-friendly, flexible business practices. And there are some extraordinary ideas which actually aren't very expensive. So it's great also for smaller businesses who may not be able to offer the wonderful 26 weeks paid parental leave, which I think every parent across the world would want. So do head to our website to download the report and benefit from those insights. And for those people on the call who aren't already members, we offer an employer membership scheme. I'm very proud to have 3 of those in our room today, as well as training and consultancy. And I'm particularly thinking about training for line managers to support your journey towards a more flexible, family-friendly culture. Benchmark entry comes as standard with all of our membership types, and please look out for our follow-up email for more information. We also encourage all employers to use our Happy to Talk flexible working logo and strapline, which was developed in partnership with the government's flexible working task force, and signals to all prospective employers that you as an employer are open to flexible working. And please look out for our follow-up email for more information on that too. And of course, we all encourage you to take part in our benchmark in 2024 so that you can continue enabling your workforce to thrive and, of course, sharing the brilliant work that you're doing with all of our audiences. So more information to follow, and thank you all very much, and a huge thank you to my amazing panelists. Thank you very much indeed, and goodbye.